back in this series and at least try to get themselves a few more points out of this matchup, or if OXG will just run them over outright with another one that should play into their favor. If you are just joining us, welcome. You missed the first map, and we're going to spoil it for you here. It was 7-2 in the favor of OXG as they take a very one-sided map for themselves. Now time to see if we can get any change up in that department as OXG get the first ban for our second map, and they're going to go right for the Lion ban, who has become a mainstay here on Coastline. Tends to be a pretty good choice to knock him out.
Yeah, a ludicrous operator when you can get your hands on him here for Coast. It makes things so difficult for the defense when it already is.
Both of them.
I mean, honestly, this is what I was talking about earlier with NAVI and these very unique bans. I personally love this Finka ban. She's came into the meta in such a convincing way with not only the LMG, but also the boosts to her adrenal surges and the way that those work now. So we're not playing with Operation Chimera. I'm sure a lot of people are happy about that. Valkyrie also going to be removed here as Oxygen will have our last ban.
Absolutely the case, and this one's going to be an interesting one as we go over towards a Maestro ban. Used to be pretty common to see him get knocked out, but it's a far cry now as we're going to see instead OXG take it out of play. We still see him become a mainstay operator for so many teams on defense on this map, so it makes sense to remove that comfort pick at a minimum. It's just if the utility being knocked out is going to be proficient enough for OXG's purposes, we'll find out about that as we get into our first round.
Yeah, incredible information coming out of that op, as well as having that LMG that everyone knows so well, and honestly proving that the magnification of sights is actually played into a lot of the bans coming through, or just the way that, you know, operators are looked at overall by teams and just Siege players overall. You know, obviously Maestro dropping off a cliff inside of bans overall, whereas we used to get Maestro, Echo, like every single game. Nobody wanted to allow any of those defenders to try and walk the earth, but this time around we won't have the Maestro to play around, so we could be possibly seeing some Echo if they do want some extra info or denial on the site, but we'll have to see. He's not going to be around for the first site. Here's Oxygen's going to be headed to double bar for their very first defense.
The bars are up first here for OXG, which is a site we've seen them go to quite often initially, and quite a few other teams as well since the slight rework or buff for this map came into play a couple months back here, and we saw some slight changes made. So I think this one was mainly untouched for the most part here. We saw mainly a lot of changes coming in on the upstairs partition towards like VIP and whatnot. Those are where we saw the biggest change, but we will see that come into play a little bit later on some of the other sites, most notably over towards like theater and whatnot. It's not going to be super relevant for this play here. What is going to be though is that big opening leading into Blue Bar. If you're watching and you're a bit of a newer viewer to Siege, that site on your left, the one that the holes are being made for at the moment, is difficult, to say the least, to play directly inside of. So, considering that, this is a good strategy because you can extend your play over towards the main lobby, and in the event the attacking team is able to get control of the office at the bottom left side of the screen and work their way into that blue room. Look at me getting away. Laxing's already got the opening kill against Blur. But yeah, if you're able to let your opponents take control, you can use the front lobby control to fire back into the site. Is the point I was trying to make.
It's the sludge again.
No, was it really?
Yeah, it was the sludge again.
Oh,
but luckily, they have the buck this time.
Yeah.
So they have an answer. They have something here to be able to work the top floor, because if they didn't have buck, you can basically already call the round here. They're going to have to try and funnel into sight and fight these people, but they still have an opportunity to try and take this top floor and get Nath in here. Now, the big thing is that Nath cannot be traded out. Nath needs to stay alive inside of this round and try and work this top floor, but this has also stunted the growth of Navi inside of round one already.
Absolutely the case, as they're going to be starting out from behind, but Doki back in form here. He's able to catch Yaga this time, knocking him out and quickly evening us back out into a 4v4 scenario here on his lonesome as well. So still going to have to be a little bit careful about how he proceeds for the next few moments, but judging from our POV and the silhouettes that we can see, it looks like he's fairly safe after picking up that kill. That's more than likely Yaga being out on an island a little bit on his own, playing the Malusi.
Foxay will fall back off of the top floor and slap up some last-second reinforcements here, just make it a little bit more difficult for them to gain access towards blue. They're going to knife the angle and just see if anybody is upstairs still, but nobody home inside of this space. This will give Navi some time to actually work this flooring, and that's exactly what Nath is going to hop into. No Nitro cells to try and answer this, so it's going to have to be straight-up gunfights through the verticality here for Kino and the rest of the squad. Doesn't get a good enough audio read on that, so doesn't choose to try and fend it off just yet, but for Navi, can still get quite a bit done here with that case control still on secretly and their ability to break up a lot of this flooring. It's going to make it hard for Oxygen to try and stay inside of Sunrise. Kino will be forced back, but with his positioning now, it's really just about trying to bait out a lot of the utility from the defensive end. But when you have people like Foxay just running around the map being a menace, it's going to be difficult, as now they've lost Doki.
They've run around the world here as far as this map is concerned, working himself from office earlier all the way up the front lobby main stairs. Laxing is going to get caught out by Secretly through, I believe, the kitchen window, however, and that'll lead to his elimination a few seconds later. Now knocking the mute out of play. Smoke is still in check. Ooh, Vertical nearly getting caught by Secretly as well. There, good placement from Secretly, but not able to get that second or third bullet needed to get the full kill against Vert. It does get him the back up, though, and this is going to be an open window for Secretly and probably the rest of Navi to push in. Secretly, ooh, a tense one as he does get himself here. He's trying to find the jump up spot. No. Oh no, it's not working out for him, and he's going to get smoked out. Keep him on timer, too. Only 15 seconds left for this team to get in position to get that plant down on the ground.
Such a difficult moment now for NAVI as they're trying to hold things down onto site. The skeleton key coming out, but he can't get it done. Secretly's been dusted, and Kino makes the play. Nath has to hold it from the top floor, but he can't get it done. The skeleton key cannot find the smoke, and Oxygen find their mark.
What a play from Kino as well, just rushing himself in there. We talked about how he was a prominent player inside of that first map, but he immediately makes himself the go-to inside of round number 1 for our second map as well, saving the day there, preventing that plant from going down on the ground, and more importantly, Navi getting the site control that they would have needed to leverage a plant for themselves. Beautiful hold, a little bit dodgy here and there as they lose a couple of players in the midst of it. It's much better aggressive presence from Navi overall compared to the first map's results, but still, OXG on top as they take the first round.
Yeah, Navi very forceful on that top floor. I love the entry there from Doki, but it really was just an answer to Oxygen getting that early pick. They had to get something done there, but the way that Oxygen ended up working the map and what they gave to Navi was really what I wanted to highlight. The way that they worked Sunrise, especially Kino being allowed back in, that was the biggest moment of that entire round there. If Nath actually is able to land his shots through the bars, and obviously Kino's movement isn't as quick, then you more than likely see a Navi round going inside of round 1, but that's not what was in the cards, unluckily enough for Navi. So Oxygen going to get away with this one as they head towards the top floor for Hookah for the very first time.
Foxy, I think a big piece of that round as well, the sneak kill that he's able to get for himself back over towards the main stairs, as well as the time-wasting mechanisms he deploys over towards the office, just the general south side of the map that he takes control of for himself. Works out beautifully as Navi choose to not mess around with him or anyone else in the area. And like I said before, he was able to leverage himself at least 1 kill from the stragglers of Navi that were trying to get together in that last minute or so as well. It's upstairs hold on the docket now here for Oxygen, and they are going to put quite a bit of a heavy amount of defense in the usual positions here, so no crazy diversions in terms of their setup.
No, pretty straightforward in the way that we would see Hookah played. Obviously, we're going to have some bodies downstairs, but with a map like Coastline, it's to be expected. You really want to hold as much pressure across the map as possible and force Navi to take it. You don't want to just give it to them. Obviously, that last round was a little bit different. That was some planned strategy around Oxygen in the way that they wanted to do some things with those toxic smokes. So we'll have to see exactly how they want to break it down this time around. Actually got a body here inside of Penthouse. Vertical could run into some trouble from the double window, but nobody on Repel currently, so safe to play this space as of right now. And as you were talking about earlier with Blue Bar, there's actually quite a few no-manned lands around this space, and this happens to be one of them. Penthouse is a very difficult area to try and stay alive in, but I mean, this could be a big round here as they're trying to clear out this space. It's going to be a prone from Doki, but he tries to stand up. It's going to ADS him, or rather un-ADS him instead, and that's going to be 2 picks for Oxygen inside of the first minute 30.
It's 5 times now that Vert has won against Doki also for the opening kill, as that record continues to get worse and worse, unfortunately. Trying desperately to turn it back around, but indeed, that second kill also coming in from Oxygen just puts things in an even worse position. Vertical low, so a good chance to maybe exchange on that, but he's got some support, as you can see there, over inside of Theater from Laxing, so even then, the kill isn't guaranteed to be clean. The hop-in comes in, and oh no, they don't even realize that Vertical is still hiding behind the dresser here. Laxing kind of steals that one, but all good. Secretly will trade out onto Vert, and then pick up another one for himself against Secretly as he tries to push out from the VIP hall.
It's just very poor trading here from Navi. They don't have the information to be doing what they're doing right now, and it's really, really harming them. This is basically just a round for Navi to try and talk. That's more than likely why we saw Blur try and make his way towards the white window. They wanted to try and get away from some things. Also tossing the Nitro Cell out there just as an audio cue as well. Oxygen firing on all cylinders here on Coastline.
Yeah, really trying to take control of this one quickly as they give Navi 0 map control, even when they absolutely could have there inside of that opening gambit they played for themselves over towards the theater as well as master bedroom area. And they're going to head over towards that now inside of the penthouse. They'll go directly to the site to play and do this hold for their 3rd rotation before we possibly see them rotate back down to the bars. They still have Kitchen as an available site choice as well if they want to go all the way around the world and play all 4 sites.
Now, we don't want to just sit here and be, Navi, whatever you want to call it, Navi haters, Navi doubters, whatever.
Navi negative.
Yeah, Navi negative. The big thing here for Navi as of right now is trying to work work around the pick game early on and trying to work in the information. They are lacking in that department. We see it time and time again with NAVI on their offensive sides where they don't know what Oxygen is exactly doing, but they're willing to try and take the fights. That's what Oxygen wants you to do. That's exactly why they're playing this way. Vertical's not just going to sit behind the wardrobe in Penthouse if he knows that you're going to miss-drone him. You know what I mean? So it's just very difficult right now for NAVI. I'd really like to see them dedicate some more time to try and clearing out the map properly instead of giving away so many frags to Oxygen.
And to continue to talk a bit more positive light, OXG, this is an absolutely fantastic start to the tournament for them if they're going to be able to stay in this shape against the other teams in the group as well here. OXG, a team that, for me at least in my recollection of them showing up to these big events, has always really been a heartbreak team as they've come into it with such promise, such high hopes to be able to go very far, and with oftentimes a lot of the community agreeing with that sentiment, only for them to get eliminated very close to the end of a group stage for some very unfortunate events, like one or two very sad
not
misplays.
again, man.
Save's gonna get caught once, or I can't even finish my opening monologue every side of these rounds here, as we're going to see yet another opening kill go by the way of OXG.
I mean, I was just looking you right in the eyes. I don't even know where he got shot from. It was within 15 seconds of the opening of the round. And that's something to expect when it comes to Coastline as well. You expect a lot of spawn peaks to happen, but for Navi, it's just not clicking in the moment. Doki's been discovered downstairs as well from the proximity sensor. You can see Yaga trying to bear down on the Vibe staircase, but he's going to lose a lot of his HP. More than likely going to lose this fight as well because the ARX is just so powerful, and that's exactly what's going to happen. Doki now securing Vibes. This will be able to lock this down at least for some time, but they're going to need quite a few other answers around this area. Doki once again stepping up to the plate with lack of information and ends up getting dusted by Vertical, who's going to be able to get Blur as well. They're just simply getting away with so much here. He's just walking around billiards and killing everyone.
And Navi seemingly oblivious almost to his positioning there. It seemed like at least two players would have had good POV onto him. We saw the drone obviously spotting him out when it jumped through, but just no one able to follow that through to get a kill against him, and it's left secretly all on his lonesome here in a 1v3 with, unfortunately, still about half the map worth of utility to clear here. He's got such a rough path in front of him. He does have a good time bank at minimum with 1 minute and 20 seconds remaining, but it is just so tough for him to work himself forward, and even with the hard breach utility sitting in his pocket, it's going to be tough to get anything done here in a 1v3 when he's already lost a third of his health.
What were they saying on the analyst desk? It's pretty rough for a team when your top frag is your hard support player. That's really the big thing that we've been seeing inside of these last two games. Secretly has been asked to do so very much. I believe we had saves, I do believe, or actually no, I do believe it was actually, no, it was saves, I do believe. That was actually the top frag for that last map. But either way, I mean, as of right now, Secretly trying to work his way up white, but this is basically the round once again. There's really not too much he's going to be able to get away with, especially with the way that Oxygen's been playing this. I mean, look, they're doubled up. I don't exactly know what was happening inside of Vase there, but Laxian's going to be able to clean it up.
I have to wait and see here what Navi is going to bring to the table in their fourth attacking round coming up right here. You're going to see the replays. And once again, we were just talking about it. Here's that run from Vertical where he's just allowed to go rampant. Not in any sort of very covered position either, just out in the open by billiards. And finally, Secretly saves the day as the last player standing by cutting him off in the big window out on Hookah balcony. But it was far too late as he already claimed 3 kills by that point. So OXG takes the cake yet again there. 3 rounds in a row for them on this second map. Continues onward from the last map as well. OXG have been shutting it down here. As Stokes mentioned, is going to look for a very quick closeout to the series at 2-0.
Not a single negative KD right now on Oxygen, whereas Navi only has Secretly at 4-2, and that's practically because he's been the last one alive and had to try and get those frags. Very difficult for him inside of these last couple of moments, but hopefully the tactical timeout can assist them. The biggest thing, though, about that tactical timeout is you can see the frustration in Navi, especially in Doki. He's not happy with how things are going right now, and I mean, how could you be?
Which is a huge far cry from what the analysts were saying their thoughts were as they were kind of like walking over to their desk and whatnot, getting ready. They were like super happy. Doki was like waving, sending out some big vibes, but
he was waving because he was leaving early. That's what it was. We like to have fun here, folks. It's nothing serious. Navi just has quite a few things that they need to get figured out. Also, on top of that, they're playing against Oxygen in probably their best form that we have ever seen them.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's very difficult right now for Navi to, even when they do the right things, actually, you know, try and get ahead of Oxygen. It's just so very hard.
Oxley gonna go lurking over here outside of the luggage hallway. Nearly is able to catch an angle against one of the players from Navi on the roof as well. Just a couple pixels off of where he'd be able to see them, so not going to catch anyone this early on. A much slower push once again here from NAVI, as they are using all this extra time for themselves to clear out the utility. Doki nearly getting cut off by the player on the main stair is going to be Yaga, but Yaga also mistimes his own shot. Backs away though instead of keeping himself in that position, so he's going to be able to save his own life as well as avoid the conflict versus Doki at the top of these stairs.
Time and time again, NAVI clear things in the same fashion. Obviously knowing that Doki is going to be coming through theater and trying to get towards the top of white stairs. Laxing doesn't even need a pulse sensor for that, just a nitro cell over by DJ. He'll be able to clean up Nath, and that's going to be some of the soft destruction off of the board. But yet again, Oxygen with the opening blood. Doki trying to fight back towards Yaga down low, but they already know that they have this in the bag. They just need to play patiently and allow NAVI to sweat this out.
Already an advantage, and like you said, no real reason for OXG to over-aggress at this point with that advantage in their control. They do seem to have some intel on a few players upstairs, so Yog is going to join up with Foxay over here closer towards security. Saves will be able to grab the exchange, though, and catch an one, but 2 kills as Doki adds 1 to the counter as well. That's Yaga going down, and Navi able to recenter themselves, retake control of the player advantage here as it comes down to a 4v3 with the most recent pickup from Doki. How do they carry this forward, though? Kino going to lurk himself up. Oh, had a freebie, but no longer. Doki's ready for the fight now, and Kino doesn't want to challenge it any further despite nearly knocking off Doki's head there. He's got very, very low HP count now.
Quite a bit of damage dealt to Doki, though, and a little bit done to Kino, and this could be the difference maker here. As we'd seen previously, Navi was able to set up for the plant inside of Sunrise, but Kino playing spoils to that positioning as he was allowed to work in towards Sunrise. That was Nath, though, on the cover the last time. This time, it's Blur. Does he have the better reaction time of the two? We'll have to see. Nitro out, but does Kino go back into the nade? He does. He'll walk back in, but not before he takes down a body. It's a 2 versus 3 here, as they're going to try and send it into sight. Laxi with a beautiful frag, and I think he knows where the last ones are as well. Foxy's got the positioning up top, might be able to fight the player in around this space. He stopped the plant, and with both of them alive, he'll be able to get away with the round as he sprints into blue, and Oxygen claim round 4.
Foxy not even going to chance it there on that final gunfight. Way too much obscurity inside of the smoke, so just dashes his way over into blue and plays out the rest of the timer. OXG cannot be stopped, even with the tactical pause and a fairly good attacking round coming out from Navi. Those positions from OXG were powerful enough to get a quick retake going to stop the plant and waste out the remaining time bank.
Oxygen is just constantly draining them, especially inside of these rounds where Navi's able to fight back, to just the perfect point where they don't have everything that they want in order to achieve what they're doing. Inside of this plant right here, they really need that top control. Sunrise is very important to have Hookah to make sure that these plays can't go on. But what do we see? Nobody upstairs, and all of a sudden Foxay is sitting on the Hookah hatch simply waiting for a read as to where the plant's going down, able to take him out and run away. And that's going to be 4 rounds now in a row for Oxygen on defense of Coastline. That is not something that you see every day.
Certainly not the case. This map's actually been pretty balanced as of recent times. It shifts a little bit into that attacker favor as of the past. This time, though, it's OXG showing us the defensive prowess they can bring to the table and really exercise against this Navi roster. Even when Navi is able to take some good control for themselves, OXG still bounce back and take full controls. We're now going to see them shift upstairs one more time here. They got 2 rounds left in this defensive half and are going to go back to the very same sites they've already controlled. No need to change it up, as the current plan is working pretty much flawlessly. So it's on to Hookah for the second time to try and get themselves a 5th.
Well, Oxygen continue down their war path as these rounds have been coming quite cleanly. Round 4 seemed to be the best opportunity for Navi to get something on the board, but maybe round 5 could be the difference maker. They've shifted saves off the Nomad over towards Twitch instead, and this could be something to try and assist them. Not only in the Twitch drones that can get rid of some utility, but the F2 that has been such a prominent rifle in Siege for such a very long time.
Vertical going to get it aggressive once again, and the challenge is ready to go. Not even going to see a follow-up come in from Doki because he was caught on the drone as of a few seconds before, so way too slow to follow that up there as his teammate is long gone. That's going to be the buck knocked out. They do have Blur on the sledge still, so once again they've got the insurance policy booked away for that one. Not the end of the world in the utility department, but Vertical needs to watch out for himself as he too is going to have pressure barreling down against him, and it'll be secretly it takes him. Where did you even come from? Inside of the circle couch room. He's going to be able to take out secretly, trading him out, and saves. Quickly corrects onto him as well, though, to keep the numbers even at a 3v3.
And honestly, you got to give it to Oxygen once again. They're at a slight advantage, but still, they're at a slight advantage. That's the big thing. They've traded down to 3 versus 3, but the utility that NAVI now have at their disposal, it's just not there in the way that you would essentially want it. The hard breacher gone, Buck now gone as well. They won't be able to try and abuse a lot of the angles that they would have before, and now with Foxe having a huge nitro cell inside of lobby, Doki's gone. You no longer have your frag potential. We have to see Blur and Save step up here.
Indeed we do, and again, very little time remaining here for NAVI to try to correct themselves in a 2v3. Gonna have to quickly try and barrel down on this site here before OXG are able to get too comfortable with their current positions inside of the site, or even worse, before they're able to work their way into a flank to potentially catch off the remaining players before they can execute to the inside of the site here. Time is ticking for NAVI, and unfortunately, it's probably not going to end up too well based on the trends so far from this series. They're taking it slow, as is Oxygen. And thankfully, Oxygen isn't being too aggressive with their current positions. They're perfectly happy to just wait this one out for the looks of things. Not going to see Foxe try to work himself into a flank position or anything like that just as of yet. But you can see he's keeping tabs on the rotations, catching at least the one player moving up onto the roof, probably to put some pressure over here towards Aqua, or potentially the big window as well, if he should like to go for that.
Well, it's glaringly obvious that Oxygen was definitely not going to the Gucci store. They were definitely scrimming and practicing for this land. It was actually me going to the Gucci store instead, John. Well, we'll have to see if Oxygen...
It was closed when I went by.
Oh, well, that sucks, man.
It was like 6:30 in the morning.
Yeah. Why is Gucci not open 24/7? That's the real question that we all ask ourselves in Vegas. As Blur, he's going to gamble here. He'll be able to get one, but Foxe will refrag it, saves down to a singular HP, and more than likely the answer coming through from Oxygen in moments. 10 seconds remain as Saves tried to work his way up. Currently at that 50% KD ratio. Trying to move his way in, but they know where he is now. Foxe will be able to end it in behind Billiards, and that's going to be round 5 going the way of OXG.
And it seems more and more inside of these desperate situations that unfortunately NAVI just isn't able to do much to try and come back once they are put into that massive deficit. You could see good attempts again from the last player alive there to try to work as much of a possible 1v2 as possible out of that scenario, but it is just futile every single time, it seems, as OXG control a 5th round in a row here. And I think even more than that if we look back to the last map as well. They've been on a streak for quite some time now, and it doesn't seem like it's going to stop anytime soon.
No, as of right now, especially with the way that Oxygen is handling the map and what they're doing to NAVI, this is just mental shattering. I mean,
8 rounds in a row right now.
Jesus, man, that is just something immense. That's something that you really never see in Rainbow Six, especially when you have a matchup like this. Expect a little bit more out of NAVI coming into this, but unfortunate for them. Still have some rounds to go they can possibly try and come back in, but the big issue right now is that mental game. Everyone across the board of NAVI, save Secretly, is currently negative, and Secretly is right on the cusp of being there. 5 and 4 currently, as he's been trying to fight back against Oxygen, but it just hasn't been working, especially with people like Vertical and what he's been able to achieve, let alone on this map, on Bank as well.
And we can see the consequences of what's been happening because of how heavily Doki was hunted down in seemingly every single round on the previous map. Tried to work it again at the beginning of this map, and he had a little bit of success for himself, but again, second round, we see him get hunted down by Vertical for the 5th time, and ever since then, he's just been sticking with the team. He hasn't really been venturing out in his zone. I'm curious to see how his defensive half is going to play out as well. Maybe he's going to go back to those more aggressive tendencies because he'll have the freedom to do so on the defensive side, but as far as the attack is concerned, he has fallen in line, and that is playing into OXG's favor to a pretty big way.
That is just some rat-tastic gameplay coming from Vertical. Prone currently at Billiards double, waiting for somebody to try and punch the window, and he's just going to smoke whoever does so. Save's currently repelled out here. I don't know if they have any info game on this space. This is exactly the positioning that he was playing the last time where we saw him hit that triple kill. He'll be able to get rid of Save's drone, but now knowing that somebody's inside of this space, he'll more than likely be opt to play just a touch safer, knowing that people will be crunching in on him, but instead, he's going to be looking around for some other players, and with Save's not manning the window in such a strong capacity, he's going to be able to tag up Secretly out on the actual balcony. Doki's going to lose his life as well as he's fallen yet again.
Things continue to look prominent for OXG as once again they score the opening kill for themselves here, and no one from NAVI this time, unlike the previous rounds, is able to get themselves in a good enough position to be able to trade that one out. Doki caught on an island once more, it seems, or OXG able to snipe out one of these players with good proficiency. Either way, another opportunity is coming up here for Vertical, but he's got to be careful. You guys probably caught it. That additional pressure from Blur working itself in from Aqua nearly catches him, but he gets out of dodge just in time to save his own life.
The amount of time that has been wasted here from Oxygen as well. The lack Oxygen's just playing around vertical. Blur's just walking in. Again, no information from NAVI. They're just trying to walk into the building, man.
Devolves so quickly as well.
Oh my goodness gracious. Round 6 goes to Oxygen. I'm just going to say, I'm really happy I'm wearing a North American jersey right now. This is just the most ridiculous thing ever. They are just walking through NAVI. There's not a single thing that they can do.
Like I said, this is a very, very confident showing from OXG. And while it's early days for this tournament, like I was saying earlier, if we continue to see this type of a performance, other teams might start doing some research on OXG because they're going to be a force to be reckoned with, even outside of this group stage.
Yeah, I do want to highlight this as well, though, just as a reminder, NAVI is not in the best straits right now as a team. So this could just be Oxygen being in form and obviously being a strong squad here at SI, but don't think that Oxygen is just going to run through every single team like this. They're more than likely going to hit a roadblock where it's going to go the full best of 3 and Oxygen's actually going to have a run for their money. I just don't think it's going to be inside of this one. Honestly, if I had to guess, I'm assuming that this more than likely will be the 7-0. We'll have to see how Oxygen's going to work the map, but you can see across the board, man, it's frag heavy. They even have Yaga on Blackbeard.
Well, I mean, when you're at 6-0, it's kind of like full control at that point. So we're going to see these teams maybe have a little bit of fun with the comp, as indeed Yaga brings the Blackbeard into play, which is not an operator we are very used to seeing inside of this type of competition at all.
Poor Navi's going to go for a spawn peek. They're going to hit that shield. He's going to trade it out himself. Oh, that's I can already see it.
You know, it might have it too, because back on the bank they were doing that a lot.
Yeah.
Like, we had 2 different hop outs, I think 1 from each team as well. So Navi's no stranger to playing aggressively. I wouldn't be surprised if they cooled it off a bit, considering they're currently 0-6, but we'll wait and see over these next few seconds how this goes.
I'll be honest with you, they can't cool it down. They have to be aggressive here. If they're not aggressive here, they already lose the map, especially because it is Coastline, right? So they have to try and fight for these early picks and fight for this map control. If they give up too much here inside of these opening minutes, then it's basically over for them. Yaga's going to start working towards Office with that Blackbeard, but the rest of the squad also working the entirety of the west side of the map. Nath already taking some serious damage, as well as Blur, as he's trying to army crawl his way across Aqua in the moment.
Yaga potentially ready to use those Blackbeard shields for the first time. Here's he creeps up on Office, just waiting for the rotate to work its way through the first floor, and at the moment, not going to be able to catch that, unfortunately, but Blur does sit on the other side of the shelf in Office, so might be able to catch that one, as you've also got Doki potentially lurking around the corners, a little bit closer to the security hallway. The team focusing their efforts, though, on trying to put presence into the double bars at this point.
Love it.
We've got the reinforcement that's going to be taken down here and give the team full POV with the Blackbeard shield currently on that position as well, over towards Cool Vibe. So any rotation coming down through there is more than likely to get caught by Oxygen.
Yeah, Coastline is really about trying to chop out this map in a certain sense, and having Blackbeard actually man the windows makes it almost impossible for anybody to try and fight up against him, because he's able to just eat bullets to the face time and time again. Nath is also going to go down up top. Lax will be able to get him with the lifeline of all things, impacts him through the floor. Blur will have to back off over towards lobby, but now the cameras and everything else being broke up around them. Really halfway through the round as well, so Oxygen going to be cool, calm, and collected moving through this, as they're more than likely going to try and look in towards the site and try and see exactly what map control they can possibly muster. Looks like it's coming in towards Sunrise now. We'll start pre-firing out towards lobby. Case control on Kino still as well. So we'll hop back on drones and see exactly what's going on inside of site.
First time we're actually going to play into the kitchen site as well. Saves with great positioning here to catch one. The drone is like 3 seconds late here in the meanwhile. Bad timing coming out there from Oxygen. It's going to cost him a player, but the correction is very quick. However, Laxing is also lost before we can even see saves get down. In fact, he might get retrieved in a second here, but OXG doesn't care. They're going to storm their way into the site directly past all these toxic bays, but right into the waiting hands of Navi. What is happening? As secretly tears out Kino, and very quickly, this is finally looking like Navi's going to be able to negotiate themselves around, and certainly so now, as Foxay's left alone, but he's not giving up either. A quick pickup from him against Secretly, and he's got 3 players left to shut it down. Nearly trades that one out against Blur, and barely takes any damage himself, so he's still very much in this fight. This is the hard part, though, getting the case down onto the ground. He hears the push coming his way, but cannot stop Doki, and he will finally shut down this madness, as finally, Navi get on the board here in map number 2.
You were talking about devolving. That's just the description of that entire round. I mean, it just seemed like everyone just not able to really get done exactly what they wanted to, but either way, Navi come out on the other side and they're able to stay alive here with this kitchen defense. Biggest part of that, the drone coming up vibes. That's really it. That missed timing there, the confidence that Vertical had to try and get in towards Kitchen early, it just wasn't meant to be. Saves inside of the position yet again here to be able to try and fend them off. Well, actually, it wasn't even him the last time inside of the map. It was secretly instead. So saves for the very first time, actually, making a round-saving play for NAVI, but still quite the road ahead of them.
1 down, 5 to go. We need to see a perfect half from NAVI if they want to save themselves inside of this map and push it on to a third, pulling off the same exact feat that Oxygen just did inside of the first half. We've already seen one North American team give up a map that seemingly was theirs earlier, if you watched the Sonics game. Now time to see if OXG will do the same. More than likely not.
Yeah, that was a little bit of a different context to that one. I would say that, well, first things first, it wasn't a 6-0 on one side.
Yeah, well, yeah, that part's obvious. But
yeah, but, you know, that map actually overall, quite interesting. You guys should definitely go back and watch that series, because definitely one of the bangers from early on, as well as Sandbox. I mean, my God, man. I've been an NV Taylor fan for a very long time, but even I was like, I really don't know how this series is going to break down. This is Ninjas in Pajamas, but, I mean, they shut me up quick.
NIP, of course, looking to defend their title once again this year and top out the rankings here at SI. We'll see if they'll be able to do that, but the year has not been super kind to them ever since that victory, so we'll have to see if it's going to be in the cards as they try to work their way towards a second title here. In the meanwhile, we've got OXG and NAVI that are also hunting for it, just like the other 18 teams we have at this event. Once again, OXG sitting at map point here with plenty of buffer room between them and their opponent's scoreline here. That very first round just now coming onto the board from NAVI, and they need to replicate the same amount of success that OXG had. That's with OXG still nearly controlling that last round had they not made the mistake over towards Cool Vibes as well. Doki ready to take the challenge on initially here, and once again, armed with the rifle as well here. Going to try and see if he can put that pressure in from Kitchen. But does back away after a couple little pokes, realize that the pressure is a bit too much for him to continue to risk, so he'll back away.
And truly loving Oxygen's whole strategy with Yaga here as well. We were talking about initially with the round that maybe Blackbeard wasn't exactly what they were looking into, but obviously they brought it for the second time. He's meant for that angle holding as well as swinging into these angles that they have set up to try and fend off the players from getting in initially into the building. Obviously because they can't shoot him in the head initially, so he's actually allowed to take the gunfight in the way that he wants to. So NAVI can be backed off here. You guys also saw their strategy out towards this end of the building as they had both of those Lucy charges, the Banshees on the wall to make sure that if anybody did enter, it would end up slowing them down and giving some information to players like Blur, who could have possibly gotten an early pick here. But now with Oxygen working around the kitchen space, they also got some lobby control. They need some info on the security areas. This is currently the bunker that we see Blur and Nath both hiding inside of.
Very, very slow play here from both of these teams because of the events over the last few rounds here. OXG not able to stabilize their attacking strategy just as of yet because things got far too chaotic when they forced it in the previous round. So now trying to play it a lot more slowly and a lot more controlled fashion as well as they look for an opportunity to descend into the double bars. Be waiting for a lot of their hard breach utility to work its way out as well. That'll open up access from the pool side of the map. From that point forward, they'll also try to open up more for themselves upstairs, but no clear on that upstairs hold as if—
oh no!
You see Yogg way out over here, almost in the ruins, sniping out, saves, and Kino follows up. Here's the downfall yet again. It's going to be up to NAVI now to turn this back around. Nath gets caught in the lobby. In fact, he catches another player, but nearly whiffs the entire magazine trying to catch him out. Gets the job done ultimately, though. Voxe and now Nath going back and forth on kills. Nath trying to save the day, but now the diffuser is down on the ground. Secretly hops down below the hatch, regroups with Nath outside of the main entry into Sunrise. So close to the headshot there, but cannot connect it. Yaga gets it instead, and Voxe will finish it off with the last kill, as we're going to see OXG take control of their opening matchup, 2-0 against NAVI.
3 rounds in total for NAVI across 2 maps. That's really all that I'm going to say about that. Oxygen, on the other hand, they look stellar in the moment. I mean, every single thing that they did was just not only synergized, but also just damning NAVI.